What is up, my friends, and how's it going? And welcome back to the second episode of our Let's Play series as the Sweboz with your fellow comrades summary. Let's go ahead, turn off all of the notifications. And in the previous episode we declared war against the DEI. As you can see, the tactical map is now my custom barbarian map, available on the Steam Workshop, of course, and we managed to wipe out the DEI, securing Kasurgis as well as Istros. We have, in the turn between the episodes, managed to march our army all the way back up north into Swabia. We're looking to consolidate Swabia in this episode as best as we can, of course. Meanwhile, the Rhugoz has expanded. They managed to wipe out the Markamannoz. We have two armies of course, the Markamannoz over here. I'm sorry, the Macromani or something else over here was here. I think it was the Hercynia. Meanwhile, Lugia, or the Rhugoz themselves, have liberated Vistula. So we're looking at a very bad stalemate over here, pretty bad deadlock over here. So things are not looking too good in the north. However, in the south, we've managed to pay off and secure some sort of non-aggressions and trade agreements with the Celts to the south. They were not too happy with us wiping out their cousins in Hercynia. So we had to make sure that we kind of stabilized our southern frontier. Otherwise, we would possibly be attacked by the Nori or even the Istros. Meanwhile, we have also developed some of our provinces. We are in the process of building a coin mint, which will give us 400 extra income, which is great, considering 400 is almost a 50% increase. We are in the process of building fields. Characters have leveled up, so let's just take a quick look at, of course, all of our notifications. War has been declared between the Inguanes as well as the Rhugoz. Construction has been completed. Okay, a character personality report. Who has this? Okay, this guy is pretty good. Political intrigue. Research has been completed. Animal imitations have been completed. Which means we pretty much have to now focus on another... Oh, we still cannot build a cavalry recruitment building. So we are going to go for the advanced saddle so that we can get the war horse pens. So that we can start to get some cavalry into our armies. Meanwhile, we are in the process of leveling up our characters so that we can get enough cunning in order to assassinate King Chlorokar and make his brother Baldwin in charge of the faction. As you remember in the previous episode, Chlorokar is a selfish faction leader, and that is because, of course, he has the trait of egoistic. Meanwhile, Baldwin, who is magnanimous, will be a more well-received faction leader, which will bump up the loyalty of all of our political rivals. However, for that to happen, what we need to do is we need to praise this character over here so that we get that final level of zeal, 10 zeal. We're gonna send her on a vacation as well so that she improves her cunning. She should be at around 7 cunning, which means we can potentially attack, can potentially assassinate this guy over here, especially if I give her this household trait, which will improve her cunning even further. And I think assassination actually takes 20 gravitas, which she has 40, so we should be able to assassinate the faction leader in the next turn. And of course, we will make Baldwin our new faction leader, and straight off the bat you'll see how that significantly improves our loyalty. Meanwhile, we are going to try to break the deadlock over here. Unfortunately, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do so because, as you can see, we are vastly outnumbered. But what we are attempting to do is we have Harjas 1 Sweboz over here in an ambush stance in the forest, and of course he is protecting this bridge that, of course, the Markamannoz will have to cross in order to get to Flevum. So we are going to go ahead, just declare the war, and in doing so we're going to hope that, of course, they try to attack us. And if they attack us, we're going to be fighting a defensive war in our own territory, an ambush stance. We will be able to wipe out their bigger army, and then we can push deeper and try to wipe out their smaller army before it recruits up to full strength. Let's go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the future. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Of course, political intrigue. A mission has been issued. Call to arms. Raise an army in the following settlements at Flevum. Of course, we are going to do that very shortly. What we are going to do first is we are going to assassinate our faction leader. And in doing so, Baldwin is now the new faction leader. And he should be... How's he selfish? Bruiser magnanimous, okay. How is he still selfish? I don't know what's going on over here, but the political instability, which is going to last for 6 turns, of course, is going to make our factions, other factions, fairly disloyal. But what we are going to do is quickly marry off Ermenlinda, and then we are going to adopt Haribert. And now let's have a quick look at Haribert. He's obsessive, so he will not make a good heir, but we can raise him up as an army over here. Haribert, go ahead, give him that general. It should give us 500 denarii for completing that mission, which is great, of course. And the Markamannoz has advanced their smaller army, so we can go ahead and attack it over here. We want to wipe it out, and hopefully this bigger army will try to attack us. So that is exactly what we want to do. This army should retreat, and if it doesn't retreat, it's going to be quite a good auto-resolve, so I don't really care. We're going to take up that auto-resolve. We're going to try our level best to ransom off all the captives. It's going to retreat a little bit further. Go ahead, attack them once again. The more battles, the better. And we are going to see how far this army can come. It can actually reach me. So what I want to do is I want to move back towards Flevum, possibly near the river crossing, and go into, of course, the patrol stance. Quick look to see if we can hire another one of these. You know, I would like to have another one of these axemen. So let's actually go ahead and merge up as many units as we can, disband them, and get this axeman up and running. Good. With that, we have just one more turn before we get a lot of income, so we are going to slowly but surely try to build up this army as well. We have currently 5 archers, so let's continue with the same build, and we can recruit 5 units per turn, so things are looking good as far as that is concerned. Lastly but not least, of course, we have to engage in some politics still. So what we definitely want to do over here, very nice ability, so let's just go ahead and give him the melee attack for all swords unit. The replenishment is quite good as well, but what we want to do is we want to improve the zeal of this character, and in doing so we can even improve. Okay, we don't have much money to do anything else, so we are going to go ahead and end the turn, and we'll see you in the future when we are ready to attack the bigger army of the Markamannoz. Alright, here we are in the next turn. We are of course going to go ahead and hire a character. Of course, being a chiefdom, we want as many characters as we possibly can. Let's go ahead and give this character some gravitas gaining ability. Meanwhile, can't do really all that much. So what we really need to do is improve the cunning of this character over here. So let that be done. Perfect. We can move around some of the household traits over here. Meanwhile, we can begin to recruit a little bit more army, but of course our income is looking rather bleak, so we are going to avoid doing that for now. Meanwhile, a quick look to see if I can go into an ambush stance over here. We should be able to replenish, and hopefully this army walks straight into my ambush, and if it does, then there's going to be some great news, because we will be able to break the deadlock and push into Ascaucalis. With that, we're going to take a quick look at our politics. Things seem to be a lot better now, and that is because we finally have an engaged faction leader who's giving +5 loyalty for all political parties, +1 influence per turn for the political party, +3 public order, -8 construction costs. So there you see, politics can be super powerful. Who your faction leader is, of course, is going to be super powerful, but unfortunately we do not have a good heir for now. That being said, let's go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the future. If perhaps the Markamannoz decide to push deeper into Flevum, we might be able to ambush them over here on the bridge, and in case they don't, they will be able to cross the bridge, which will put us at a slight disadvantage. However, I'm not too concerned about it. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Unfortunately, the Markamannoz has not attacked us, so we're still waiting for them to do so. Meanwhile, we could recruit another one of these Germanic mercenary bear warriors. However, I don't want to do that. What we are going to do is we're going to take the fight to the Markamannoz. Their army is not all that elite, which means we can gain an advantage, break them, and then basically push deeper into Ascaucalis. Unfortunately, that's the only course of action that I think is feasible for now. So let's just go ahead, attack them. We are going to go ahead, go for a night battle. Quick save over here, hop quickly into the battle, and I will see you all in the battle. Alright guys, welcome to our first battle against the Markamannoz. Before we hop into the battle, I'm very quickly going to showcase something that I have discovered in your controls section. As you can see, I have unselected the increase maximum distance for the battle. If you select this, which would mean that you have even greater distance with your camera, however, in Divided Impera, you can see that actually reduced my zoom level. And this is the maximum zoom level I can have with that option selected. However, if I go back to the controls and unselect it, I have way more zoom level, and this is a very useful tool to have because you can pretty much get a comprehensive view of the battle. You can know absolutely what is going on the other flank while you are focusing over here. You still can see what's going on the other side. However, with that, as you can see in the battle, I'm rushing for the high ground, and so is the enemy, but I get there before him. Our front line consists of our chatty spearmen. Behind them we have our Swevy archers, and on the flanks of our Swevy archers we have our Swevy youth, which are basically a javelin skirmisher unit. And as you can see, I am redirecting my archers onto the left flank, and that is because I have identified a missile cavalry over here. Meanwhile, on the flanks we have our Swevy light spearmen, and behind them we have our shock troops like our Germanic mercenary bear warriors, and of course one unit of champions of Tevas on the left flank. Of course, you can see them over here. Very nice looking unit, slightly better armored, but the stats are almost identical. However, with that, you can see the front lines have clashed. I have gone ahead and asked my troops to charge into the battle, and that is because they are a shock spear entry and they are much better on the offensive than they are fighting a defensive style. On the flanks, meanwhile, my Swevy light spearmen have engaged the enemy flank, and so I am trying to encircle them. Over here you could see that I have used shift commands so that I don't have to really focus on the maneuvering of this unit, and I can focus my micromanagements on other parts of the battlefield, and pretty much these units will encircle that unit. From a very comprehensive view over here, you can see that of course our left flank is looking to be a bit overwhelmed. So we are really going to be focusing our micro over here, especially trying to deal with this skirmisher cavalry. We do not have any cavalry of our own, which kind of means that you know, we will have a really hard time dealing with this cavalry, which is why I'm focusing all of my attention to this cavalry. It seems like they have depleted their munitions, and I have charged with my units into their flank, so they will be taking a lot of casualties and they should rout from the battlefield soon enough. There you have it, as you can see, getting knocked off, and they are in full rout. So obviously I'm not going to chase them because I can't keep up, but what I'm going to do is continue to keep the pressure on that unit. Meanwhile, on the right flank, as you can see, we are managing to encircle the enemy, and we are going to push into it. Over here you might see something of a very narrow formation, and this is something I have discovered quite a while ago, and I actually like to keep my unit formations narrow when I'm attempting to do a maneuver. However, just before I am going to charge a unit, I widen my formation. As you see over here, I have started to widen my formations because I've successfully performed that maneuver. However, over here on that left flank of ours, you can see how that narrow formation actually helps with quicker maneuvering. You're able to get much more directional movement rather than having certain units get bogged down in a fight. So it's a little bit of a trick when it comes to pathfinding micromanagement, because of course with a narrow formation you're able to cut corners a lot more effectively. Especially narrow formations work very well when you're trying to move units through the narrow streets of settlements. So whenever on the move, I would suggest to be in a narrow formation. However, just before your charge and before an engagement, you can go ahead and spread out your formation However, as you can see, the effects of the Swaby army in full swing. We have a lot of units that are retreating from the battle, and that is because of our fear abilities. So once again, you can see trying to cycle my troops across. A better thing I could have done here is actually try to move these troops across so that these guys don't get bogged down. However, unfortunately, I don't do that because a lot is happening in terms of micro. As you can see, I am ordering all of my troops to form up against the bulk of the enemy army over here and then attack into the rear of the enemy army. Meanwhile, I'm not too concerned about these units that are routing. Some of them are wavering and returning back into the battle. However, I'm not too concerned because my main focus is, of course, breaking the bulk of the enemy army. And over here you can see that we are going to charge with our unit of spearmen. Now these guys should be significantly weak. They're shaken, they're winded. So if we manage to get a successful charge off on them, we will be able to inflict some serious casualties. Right there, I kind of widened my formation and we're going to charge into them. Meanwhile, on our front lines, as you can see, we have routed most of the enemy units. While we're not able to catch up with these spearmen, our archers have advanced and they are assisting us in firing against these units, and they have completely shattered, so these guys won't be returning to the battle. Meanwhile, on the far right flank, you can see we have our light spearmen chasing down a unit of Germanic hunters. Keep in mind, your light spearmen have the same movement speed as speed of foe, so they will not be able to catch up with this unit, but it's still important to give chase. And the reason being is that by continuously chasing this unit, and as you can see over here, I'm reforming it, which is kind of a micro mistake, but if you keep continuing to chase it, they will not have time to pause and fire at you. So over here you can see my formation widening up in anticipation for the eventual melee. And basically right now these archers cannot fire into my troops at all. They have to keep running, otherwise they will get caught out. And eventually they will get caught out anyways, because they will be trapped by the bounds of the battlefield, and as such they will get charged by our units. So there you have it. Completely charged, completely getting shattered, getting hit in the back. There we go. Just wonderful unit to have over here. And you can see some of the fighting is intense and fierce. I half expected that these guys would lose quite a lot of units. However, they are going to take their own sweet time to perish. Meanwhile, on the left flank, most of the enemy army that was formerly retreating has joined the battle, have regained their composure. So I am dedicating whatever remaining of my troops are in the area to deal with that unit, of course. So for the most part, you can tell that the battle is pretty much won. Although there are still some troops left in the battle, we have the overwhelming superiority in numbers. So it's just a matter of time before we end and win the battle. Of course, over here we charge yet another unit. You can see even among the units that are remaining, a lot of them are wavering. A lot of them are, dying like flies. So it's only a matter of time before we go ahead and win this battle. And with that, of course, as you can see, the general is the last remaining troop, and we have won the battle by completely shattering the army. And that is just how powerful scare tactics can be if used right. You want to stack it up with various modifiers such as, the morale penalty from flanking, the morale penalty from being under missile fire, and so forth. And of course, if you really want to, you can even use flaming arrows. Flaming arrows aren't that powerful in my opinion, so I tend to avoid them. But if you absolutely want to shatter the morale of an enemy unit and you're looking just to min-max your scare or your morale debuffs that you apply on the enemy army, then you can go ahead and even turn on the flaming arrows. However, with that, we have won our first battle against the Markamannoz, a decisive victory over here. It will give us a considerable advantage in our momentum, in our push towards Ascaucalis, and I will see you all in the campaign. Alright, with that we have won a decisive victory, and we are going to go ahead and ransom off all the captives. Haven't managed to wipe out the enemy army, however we have managed to level up a couple of characters, so let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go and promote him as well. And what else we need to do? Our general has leveled up, so we can improve the movement of our infantry. as currently we don't have any cavalry, and we really need to improve at least the movement of our infantry. So as far as army traditions is concerned, we have taken the indomitable infantry, which improves our melee attack skill and defense skill for our infantry units. We have the Wolves of Tevas, which gives additional weapon damage inflicted by all army units, which is amazing. And we also have the Dread Marauders that actually improves... is the faction leader still alive? He is. Okay. Which actually gives a morale penalty to, of course, the enemy units. Now we could potentially attack here. No, we cannot, but we can push our offensive towards, of course, the Markamannoz, and we are going to go ahead and do that. The auto resolve might look bad, but if we turn on the night attack, the reinforcements cannot help them, so we go ahead, turn on that night attack, easy auto resolve, get rid of the entire army, and we're looking quite good for now. So we're just going to stay put in our position. Meanwhile, we're going to try to explore what's going on a little bit towards the west, because once we take care of the Accaucalis, we will have to decide which one of the two factions we're going to support. We're either going to go support the Inguiones or the Rhugoz. The Rhugoz currently at war with, of course, the Ubii as well as the Inguiones. The Inguiones, meanwhile, is being allied with the Rhugoz, so it's really not a very certain situation as to which way I will proceed. However, we are almost done with the turn, but we're quickly going to check if we can get some mercenaries. There we go. We want to get those Germanic mercenary warbands. They're fairly expensive, reducing our overall income, but it is, in my opinion, really worth getting them. Meanwhile, we want to get a couple of these skirmishers as well. We can go ahead and get a couple of these guys as well. And finally, we can get a chatty spearman. So slowly but surely we're building up our second army, which is good news. And once we have two armies, then we should be able to deal with some of the more troublesome factions. Alright, welcome to the next turn. A faction has been destroyed. The Colchis is no more, which most likely means it's the Bosphorian kingdom that's on the ascendancy. Meanwhile, our king fought a very hard battle and has kind of improved his ability and become a brawler. In the end turn, the Markamannoz attacked us with their garrison, so as you can see, we're significantly depleted, but we are going to take the fight to them. We should be able to win this one. We're going to quick save over here, and we're going to auto-resolve it. Hopefully we don't lose any units, especially our mercenaries. We might end up losing a couple of them, that's fine. But we are simply just going to sack the settlement, and the reason being is we can finally engage in diplomacy, form a confederation, ask for a payment, and the Markamannoz have finally recognized the might of the Germania or the Sweboz, and we are going to deploy ourselves into the settlement of Ascaucalis. Meanwhile, dismantle all of the buildings, since we don't really need another recruitment building. And we are going to focus on, of course, rebuilding whatever troops we lost in that confrontation. Excuse me. We can get some spearmen, pikemen. They are really good in my opinion, and they have recently been buffed. They've been given the guerrilla deployment in patch 1.3.4, so it's really great to have them. They no longer will be stuck behind while your main army can advance attack, but that's going to be really, really good for the Sweboz as well as the Rhugoz, who also have a pikeman. But what we are missing is we are missing a unit of chatty spearmen, and I really want to see these guys. These are Duguntos, so there's no point really hiring them for now. So let's get one of these chatty spearmen, and that should be enough. And apart from that, we'll need a couple more of these mercenary units. Meanwhile, over here, our army in the south, we're going to go ahead and recruit a couple more chatty spearmen for him as well. 6 chatty spearmen, and or maybe 5 chatty spearmen. What's our composition look like? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chatty spearmen. So yes, that's perfect. So we'll have 3 more slots for getting some more Germanic but mercenary bear warriors. Economy is looking rather decent. We're going to quickly take a look at Rhugoz. they are not very defended over there. They have an army over here that shouldn't be able to reinforce Rhugoz should we decide to attack it. So we might actually just make a push for Rhugoz and take the side of the Ingiones, although it might be a good idea to actually attack the Ingiones because they are kind of allied to the Rhugoz, and using the Rhugoz to attack the Ingiones will not only allow us to avoid having to fight with the Rhugoz, but at the same time will secure our western front against you know, the Rhugoz, which have grown to quite a considerable size. However, that being said, let's have a quick look at our politics. Political situation's looking quite good. Characters have also leveled up. We have the ability to get some authority over here, so let's go ahead and select that, and we can even send this character on a vacation to improve and get that final level of cunning, I believe, or she needs at least 2 more because we kind of have switched the things around. Meanwhile, over here we can get yet another one of these abilities, so that's good. Let's go ahead and get that over there. And finally, for our faction leader, we want to give him the gravitas ability. Meanwhile, this character over here, she can improve the public order in Hercynia. That should give us her 22 gravitas, which means she can marry off in the next turn, and we can adopt yet another son for the Chatty family tree. Alright, welcome to the future. The Punic Wars have been initiated, research has been completed, factions have been destroyed, a lot is happening, the UBI have been destroyed. We are currently at war with the Rhugoz. We have decided to ally, or rather establish friendly relationships with the Ingiones. We have a trade agreement with them. We might even be able to get a non-aggression with them. And of course they are willing to pay us for it, so let's actually get a non-aggression. Perhaps a military access, excellent. Meanwhile, the Rhugoz, can we establish some agreements with them? Unfortunately, we can't. We are not only at war with the Rhugoz, it seems like the Kimbroz have also declared war against us, so we're pretty much at war with the entirety of Western Germania. However, we have our faction leader over here who's making his way towards the unguarded capital of Rhugoz. We can go ahead and we want to just simply auto-resolve this one, because it's not going to be that much of a significant battle. We can go ahead and peacefully occupy the settlement, and we basically have an issue with having to deal with, of course, you know, the Rhugoz over here. It's quite dangerous, so I'm going to actually move my spy up here to the north. The entire situation over here is a little bit dicey because we have the Kimbroz. They will have a couple of stacks at least. We know for sure there's one Rhugoz stack over here, and there are actually a couple of Rhugoz stacks over there. Ooh, that's not looking good. So, I should have been a little bit more defensive over there. I didn't realize that, of course, we don't have line of sight over there of what's going on. So things are a little bit sketchy for the moment. We might have to fight a very defensive battle, and we might actually end up losing. So to tip the balance in our favor, we can get a couple of bowie swordsmen. Of course, this is going to eat a little bit of our treasury, which we are slowly but surely trying to build up. Meanwhile, we can send this character on a leisure to get a little bit more. We have married off that female character, thereby gaining another character for our family. He's in charge of the army, Harjas to tank Tijeros, and of course he is now under threat, and we shall see how good he does. But he really has a good trait of being virtuous, wealthy. Of course, he's Rakon. But apart from that, and nothing much else. So we can go ahead and end the turn, and hopefully in the next turn we will be able to upgrade this building. What we really need is for our economy to slightly get better, but in order for that to happen, what we really need to do is start dismantling some of these buildings, and we really need and you know what, one of our characters can actually embezzle funds to gain a little bit of money, because we definitely want to build up Rhugoz. I'm going to leave that building for now because I won't be able to build it up in the next turn. But what I really want is the Amber resource building, and I'm going to leave this one because it's giving 400 wealth per local commerce, And of course, we do have a fishing port now, which means our food situation is looking great. Meanwhile, as far as technology is concerned, we've completed that technology, which means we can upgrade any of our buildings into a horse pens and gain access to some cavalry, which we so desperately need. But for now, I am going to focus on some civil technologies, and in particular, we are going to go with the Lore Master's Hut, I believe, because the Lore Master's Hut, if it unlocks the technology building, we can get some access to the champions of Tivas, which is pretty much what I want. However, that being said, let's go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn or in the future when I'm being attacked by the Rhugoz. And the Rhugoz actually have the Kimbroz roster, so they're nothing to scoff at, really. Alright, there we have it. The Rhugoz army have attacked our army in the south near Kasurgis, and we are going to go ahead, quick save. I have retreated the first time, so this is pretty much a fight for survival. If I end up losing this battle, this entire army is going to be wiped out, which will give the Rhugoz free ability to raid and invade Hercynia proper. So we definitely have to win this battle, and of course they have the Duganpiz, which have the defensive formation, so really we will need to rely a lot on our maneuverability. And we have been attacked by the Rhugoz. Of course, I have retreated once, and that was a strategic retreat, which means if I end up losing this battle, I will end up losing the entirety of this army. It will be wiped out. So this battle, without, it's quite obvious that this battle is of utmost importance. We have to win, even if it is a close victory. We have to, at all cases, win this battle. We don't have much of a choice. However, with that, you can see that we are outnumbered over here by the Rhugoz. They are kind of spreading out, and so in an attempt to deal with that situation, I try to reform my formation that, if you guys can remember from the previous battle, I'm pretty much using the same formation. The only difference is I don't have as many Germanic mercenary bear warriors, so I've instead recruited the services of some DEI mercenary swordsmen instead. However, understanding that, I am going to be flanked, I quickly align my front line in that oblique order. As you can see, that's what's happening. We are throwing in our spears, and we might try to charge into the enemy unit. If we do not charge into the enemy unit, then we will have a significant penalty. But I think in this battle, I don't end up charging. I do manage a charge on my left hand side of my front line, but on the right hand side, it's a little bit messy. However, as you can see, the front lines are now stable, which means it is time to begin our maneuvers with, of course, our shock troops. And there you have it. They are running towards the enemy, and we are looking to relieve our flanks as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, you can see the same is happening on our right flank. We're basically trying to reposition our troops. I'm not going in too much of a narrow formation over here because as far as maneuvering is concerned, we are looking quite good. We are quite spread out. Quick look of what's happening on that left flank. We are charging in our mercenary bear warriors into the army over there. However, they turn about just about at the right time, completely getting hacked to pieces though, because of course our mercenary bear warriors are extremely powerful. There goes one of him, however. Meanwhile, over here on the far left, unfortunately, our unit of DEI mercenary swordsmen has been caught because I didn't opt for a narrow formation. However, on the right, you can see that one of these units are wavering. They are losing pretty decisively, so I have managed to move my general up forward, rally the troops in order to keep him in the fight a little bit longer, because guys, it's very important to maintain a cohesive front line. As you can see, our front line is pretty cohesive, but this weak spot could be eventually exploited by enemy units if we are not too careful, and what that does is will compound the effect on the remainder of our front line, because they will be flanked, they will receive flanking penalties. However, over here on the right flank, you can see things are looking quite good for us. Already we're starting to see some of the Rhugoz army in a full retreat, so we are trying to keep up that momentum, trying to hit the enemy from, of course, our own right flank. Meanwhile, on the left flank, once again in this battle, we are facing some significant resistance. The fighting over here is extremely brutal, extremely harsh, and there you have it. Nice spear to the head there, 2 in 1. So that's So there is really a danger in running away when you're engaged in melee combat, and as you can see over there with that little bit of an animation, when you retreat from melee combat you will get a lot of casualties. Now once again you can see this unit starting to waver, so I decide to move my general up really close. I decide to inspire the troops this time since I don't have the rally, it is on cooldown. And what I am going to do is I'm going to cycle out these units so that they do not shatter. So this is a very effective way of doing it. I realize there's no point chasing this unit, so I decide to instead charge my general into the flanks of their own general. As I do realize that of course we are fighting with fear tactics, so you know, one of the morale debuffs that you can apply to the enemy army is of course killing off their general over here. As you can see, we are even focus firing all of our missiles into the enemy general unit, and he is dropping quite quickly. So hopefully we will be able to kill him off pretty soon, and we will inflict some severe morale penalties on the enemy army. As of now you can see that the battle is going quite well. It seems to be going in our favor because we have a lot of units that are actually routing from the battle. Meanwhile our own troops are pretty steadfast in this fight. However, our left flank is really critical, guys, and that is why I actually decided to charge in my own Swevy youth, who are not really that great in melee, but they are going to serve as a decent meat shield. Unfortunately they are wavering for now, and what I decide to do over here, you can see that narrow formation craftily moving around the enemy, and then we will try to hit the enemy in the rear over here with that Germanic, or with that Boyai mercenary swordsman rather. Meanwhile on the right flank things are pretty stable. We managed to significantly rout the enemy left flank, so things are looking great. Meanwhile some of our own troops are also returning back into the battle, so if your micromanagement is on point you will be able to identify them real quick and bring them into the battle. I think a good note to go forward in terms of improving micromanagement in the future would be to acknowledge the fact that these units have retreated. Check which unit on your unit bar has retreated, and then once they stop retreating you will know exactly where to click and bring them back into the battle. A quick look at the minimap will also disclose to you their position, so you will know exactly where you can bring them back into the battle as quickly as possible. However, with that you can see we are starting to gain some sort of superiority in this area. Our Swevy youth are still wavering, so it's time to charge with our these guys are Germanic mercenary bear warriors, so they should have a pretty good charge here because they are really a dedicated shock unit, as opposed to of course the mercenary Boyai swordsmen, who are more of a defensive unit rather than a shock unit. Now that we have shattered that unit, we are trying to charge into this unit to protect our own chatty spearmen. However, we arrive a little bit too late, so of course they rout from the field of battle. But we have engaged these units over here, and once again, as you can see, for the most part we are trying to break the entirety of the enemy main front line. We don't really care about units returning back to the battle, but we are going to create a screen to protect the rear of our own flanking troops from being outflanked. So we're gonna charge into this unit, and they should take some decent amount of casualties because they are tired, they are wavering, they have a lot of penalties against them, and so very quickly they're gonna break again. And if you break a unit for the second time, then they will absolutely shatter. So it's very important to understand that these units that are running away, if they come back, they're going to be even more tired because they have to cover a lot of distance. However, if you give chase, then it is you who will tire out. So what you want to do is you want to let them tire out, keep up that low morale, come back in, give them a good charge and take them out of the field of battle. But as you can see over here, once again we have managed to secure a very decisive victory as the Sweboz. Of course, it's a very stark contrast to our Let's Play Seleucid series, in which our army had a very organized structure in battle. Over here you can see just how chaotic a Germanic style of warfare is. You have units all over the troop, basically mixed units, real confusion, real chaos. But with that, of course, we have won the battle. Unfortunately, we will not be able to chase down the enemy units because keep in mind, we still do not have cavalry units within our armies. But the advantage of having that strategic retreat on the campaign map has allowed me to progress or withdraw deeper into my own territory, allowing me to replenish in the end turn, of course. Meanwhile, the armies of the Rhugoz will not be able to replenish, which means in the next turn I will be able to wipe them out. And so, first major engagement against the Rhugoz, and we've successfully managed to fend them off. Retreating a little bit deeper allows me to replenish, allows them not to replenish because they cannot retreat back into their territory. We managed to wipe out one of the armies. The other army is significantly weakened. It does appear to be a close victory. We lost about 1,400 men, but we managed to kill 3 times that number. And we are going to go ahead and ransom off all of the captives, get a little bit of money, and in the next turn we are going to push our offensive into Uburzes and capture the settlement for ourselves. Oh, so welcome to the next turn. Of course, the end turn, and of course my explanation took a bit of some time to explain that. As far as Kasurgas is concerned, we have a decent garrison, but we can still push ahead and try to wipe out this army. Not entirely sure what's happening over here in Uburzes. We can't reach it anyway, so we might as well just get some general abilities. Go ahead, keep attacking that army. It should be a very good auto-resolve. Go ahead, liberate or ransom off all the captives. Leveled up our army, so let's go ahead and get some of those army traditions. And now pretty much what we want to do is we want to get into a fortified stance over here so that we improve our replenishment. Meanwhile, we're going to move our spy deeper into the Kimbroz territory, get a line of sight of what's going on. The Kimbroz has 2 armies. One is over here in ambush stance, and I don't really want to pursue it just yet. Meanwhile, we can also get a mercenary, and we want to slowly but surely build up those mercenary forces. Make sure to get that amber building, because that is of course a very powerful. Meanwhile, the manufacturing, we don't really need that. What we need to do is now focus on some more food buildings, and we can in fact even build a horse pens now, which might be a good idea because we really need some horsemen to improve our offensive capabilities. So you know what, I'm actually going to go ahead and build it because it's going to take me about 6 turns to build it. As far as politics is concerned, all of the factions, political rivals, fairly loyal. We can in fact, ooh, nice, we have an ability over here to improve the melee attack rate, so that is of course always welcome. Perfect. And of course we are not going to engage in any politics because we don't have enough money to do so. We could embezzle funds over here that should give us about enough money, but there's no point to it really. So what we're going to do is just sit back as far as political actions are concerned for a couple of turns, try to build up our economy again. We used most of it to hire these Boyai mercenary swordsmen, and of course they are costing us quite a lot to maintain. But hopefully they will help us in pushing into Uburzes and eventually Tolifordum. Ideally, I would also like this Kimbroz army to attack, thereby leaving Alabu exposed. If I control Alabu, then that's a very strong strategic point to hold, because the only way to get into Eastern Germania from the north is via Alabu, and from the south you technically want to control Tolifordum, as an enemy army from the north moving southwards can just bypass Uburzes, so there's no real benefit in holding on to Uburzes. But of course, being a settlement under the Rhugoz, we are going to conquer it nonetheless. Alright, so here we are in the end turn, and the Kimbroz have decided to attack me. I don't really care. I'm just gonna auto-resolve this because I will have the replenishment advantage and they won't. And hopefully I should not lose. I mean, it would be a good battle, but we've already fought 2 big battles in this episode, so there's no real need to fight a very similar army composition to the one that we previously fought. We're going to go ahead and liberate all of the captives, and in the next turn we should be replenished, which means we'll push into the Kimbroz army and wipe it off. Alright, welcome to the next turn. A king and general has leveled up, so let's go ahead and level them up. Over here we can get some more tax rate. Of course, rightful sovereign and unwavering patriot is always nice. Quick look to see what we can get. Unfortunately, nothing much. Over here our army has sort of kind of replenished. We can get some more army upkeep cost reduction, get the movement speed as well as the melee attack. Let's go ahead and attack this Kimbroz army. Should be quite an easy auto-resolve. Of course, we're gonna ransom off all the captives, and then we are going to deploy into the port of Rhugoz so that in the next turn we can pretty much reach Alabu. Meanwhile, we have dismantled the building over here, so we are going to go ahead and build up the timber trail as well. So things are looking quite good. Meanwhile, this army over here, we're going to try to venture forth and see if we can attack Uburzes, which is great. We can. Easy auto-resolve. It was recently conquered. We are going to go ahead and peacefully occupy this settlement because it is Germanic. And the good news is it does have some recruitment buildings as well as we can get yet another farm over here. So moving forward in the future, it should be easy to build up over here and start pushing towards the last remaining holdout of course, the Rhugoz. Meanwhile, a quick look at this army over here. It's still building up. Unfortunately, we will not be able to attack it. Attacking it and attacking Tolifordum would be the most important thing in this war westwards. And as you can see, slowly but surely, we are growing as the Germany. We just have a couple more provinces, or 3 provinces, basically Magna Germania, to consolidate under our control, after which we will be the undisputed power throughout Western Germany, and then we can focus our attention towards Eastern Germany instead. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Shield Maiden has leveled up, Agent has been exposed, Child has been born, increased in ranks, bunch of things happening. Edict issued. Excellent. First, let's level up all of the characters that are leveled up. Excellent. We have to take the Strategic Genius, because on the final level it gives additional bonus gain for the general, so that is obviously going to be very good. Meanwhile, we can still take a bit more, so let's get that. Meanwhile, our Dignitary has also leveled up, so let's go ahead and get some of those abilities for our Dignitary. The Rhugoz are actually quite close over here to attacking us, so a little bit scared for the safety of Flevum, not be able to defend against them. So what we can do over here... You know what, I can get a couple of these Swaby proven spearmen, and in fact what I am going to do is I'm going to embezzle funds so that I can recruit a lot more of them. These guys shouldn't be able to cross over within this turn, and getting 4 of these guys means I can hold out in Flevum relatively decently against the lightly armored Flevum troops. Meanwhile, a quick look of what's going on down south over here. Things are looking quite good. We're going to push up towards Uburzes, and we're going to go into that fortified stance, protecting the pathway down towards Uburzes. Meanwhile, army up in the north can move towards Alabu. Just have a quick look to see what's going on over there. Alabu is undefended, should be quite an easy auto-resolve, and then we can pincer attack into Tolifordum, and hopefully we'll make it back in time to deal with this Rhugoz army. Speaking of the Rhugoz army, I'm going to move my spy down south over there, close by, just to keep a check of him. And with that, nothing much else left to do in the turn. Our economy is really in a bad situation for now. Meanwhile, we can get yet another 2 authority for this character, easy peasy, and we can actually even send her on a vacation to improve her cunning. So I know I said we'll not engage in politics, but for now I really can't help myself. I really want to keep engaging in those political actions. That being said, let's go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Completed a bunch of research. The Helvetii are making their move towards us, which is not looking too good. But we can establish a trade agreement perhaps with them. Oh, they are at war with the Rhugoz, which is good news. Meanwhile, the Nori... Let's see, the Rhugoz, will you get a trade agreement with us? That's great, so let's get trade agreement with the Rhugoz. Last thing we want is to be backstabbed over here, so let's just simply get a simple trade agreement with them. Meanwhile, with the Helvetii, we are going to try to establish a trade agreement of our own if we can possibly do so. We do not have enough funds So I'm not exactly willing to pay them for it. Meanwhile, we can just go ahead and dismantle this building because it's costing us 200 denarii to maintain, and 200 denarii doesn't seem like much, but in our current situation it is quite significant. Let's go ahead and attack Alabu. We can just simply auto-resolve this battle, and I'm gonna sack the settlement. And a quick look, Alabu is the capital, so they should have a decent population, and we are going to in fact loot Alabu. And the reason for that is because you know, we're really struggling as far as the economy is concerned. Meanwhile, over here, can we recruit anything? We cannot. So just a quick look to see if we can push into Tolifordum. Maybe we can auto-resolve this one. Unfortunately we can't, so we have to kind of pull back, wait for reinforcements from Alabu, keep moving over here. We could be in a very bad situation over here, so let's just see how that you know, pans out. Of course, in the next turn we are going to be able to rectify that situation. Let's quickly dismantle all of the buildings in Alabu. We have about 23,000 denarii in our bank, which is great, which means we can engage in some more politics. And speaking of politics, we want to really focus on, you know, improving our final female character. Of course, we're going to improve her zeal as well as improve her authority, and then we're going to send this character on leisure to improve the cunning. Meanwhile, things are looking quite good as far as our political rivals are concerned. Fairly loyal. We're just very close to getting that Imperium level 3. If we conquer Tolifordum, then for sure we will have gained Imperium level 3. Meanwhile, over here, temporarily, we are going to keep recruiting some more of these, you know, Swaby proven spearmen. And I am going to just spam them. I know it's going to tank my economy a lot, but as soon as I conquer Tolifordum, I can go ahead and disband it. Meanwhile, over here, we're going to try to sabotage this army. We successfully managed to do so. What we really want to do is, this is the king of the Rhugoz, so eventually we want to be able to assassinate him so that we don't have to fight off this army. However, with that, let's go ahead and end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. Alright, welcome to the next turn. We have a spot of luck. That army has withdrawn. It's moved all the way down south over here. We're going to try to keep harassing it, try to sabotage the supplies so that it can't move all that much. And of course, we can level up even our spies. So let's go ahead and improve the ability to assassinate, because eventually we want to assassinate that character. And for now, we are going to push with our main force down towards Tolifordum. Hopefully, we should be able to support it with this other army as well. And in doing so, we will have successfully taken the last settlement of the Rhugoz. And we could, you know, loot it up again, but I just want to peacefully occupy it. And with that, we have reached Imperium level 3. I'm going to leave that recruitment building. And of course, we are going to focus on leaving this building as well. Go ahead, build that up. We can get a weaponsmith. And now there's often a choice. You either want to choose shieldmaker or blacksmith or weapons master or the armorer. Now, how you choose this depends on the faction you're playing. If you're playing a very heavily armored faction, of course you want the armorer, because that will give you the maximum benefit. But if your units don't have a lot of armor, it makes no sense to get that earlier on. Of course, later on you want to get it because you want to maximize or min-max as much of your stats as possible. However, earlier on in the game, you want to prioritize based on your roster. And our roster is basically a lot of melee attack oriented units, so we definitely want to build the weaponsmith and not the armorer as the Sweboz. However, that being said and done, things are looking quite good in the campaign. We've managed to massively expand in just about 2 episodes, guys. And in about 2 episodes, we've managed to hit Imperium level 3. So it's absolutely rapid, fast expansion over here. So things are looking really good. Since this army cannot really reach us anymore, it's safe to say that we can go ahead and disband all of our proven spearmen that should replenish our Duganthor's population. So things are looking quite good. Let's look at our construction. We're gonna upgrade that building. It's time to upgrade our meeting ground as well. And over here we can go ahead and get that fur trader. And our food situation is looking a bit dicey, so we might as well go ahead and dismantle all of the buildings that we do not require to be at level 2. With that, of course, our faction leader has also leveled up, rather his army tradition. So let's improve the Wolves of Tivaz, of course, the Indomitable Infantry and the Dread Marauders. And we're going to keep focusing on that until we can get the unique, level up for, of course, the Sweboz. Meanwhile, this army down south over here cannot be approached by this army, so we're going to move back down south, and we can actually be so bold as to go on that patrol stance. And of course, we're just going to quickly see our mercenaries. We really want to build up the mercenary Germanic bear warriors, but of course we will not rely on them heavily. What we really want to do is gain access to the champions of Tivaz, and in order to do that, we are currently researching up to the level 3 of our research building, or our low master building. So once we are able to get that, then we will gain access to the champions of Tivaz automatically. Apart from that, I really want to check which building gives us access to our Hari Nightwalkers, because those guys are also very, very good. Would it be the barracks? And I don't think it's the barracks, so it might actually be a temple. So let's actually dismantle this, and we're going to focus on that, of course. But what we really need to see is if it's going to be a temple. Have we built anything over here? No, we haven't. So yes, we can build a temple. Interesting. Okay, so the Hari Nightwalkers are not available over here. What I really want is those Hari Nightwalkers, unfortunately. And I don't know which exact building they are in. Maybe they are in the level 3. Nope. Okay, if they're not in the level 3 and they're not in any of the temples, then where could they possibly be? Okay, so they're definitely not in any of the temples. However, these guys are in a temple, so it will make it a lot easier to get them. However, let's see with these guys. Any Hari Nightwalkers? Absolutely no idea which building they come from. Interesting. Maybe they come from the cavalry building? No. What's going on? This is... what about any resource building? I mean, that would be absolutely insane if they were part of a resource building instead. The amber building. Let's take a look. Nope. Okay. We're not yet building this up, I think. Okay. So let's just check if they will be available in any of these buildings. That's the last hope. And I don't really see them, which is kind of weird, guys. Amber building. Oh, there we go. Okay, so they are in Amber level 3. The Hari Nightwalker. Okay, so Hari Night Strikers, Amber level 3. So we really need to focus on getting that Amber level 3, which will require the tax labor. So instead of focusing on the Sacred Grove, let us focus on the tax labor. Now, which one is the tax labor? Tax labor. Just once again want to check the name of that. That's the tax labor, and that is the craft specialization. So tax labor, can't really find that. Right, that is fertilization, not the tax labor. So let's just focus on the craft specialization, because obviously that is a mistake, and we're going to continue to build up our farm over there. And with that, things are looking quite good. So let's go ahead and end the turn, and over here we want to build that up as well. quickly check all of our buildings. They're looking quite good. We can upgrade this into that settlement as well, so that we can start to make more elite armies. As you can see, our economy is looking quite good, so I'm not too concerned with our economy. Very soon we should be able to maximize our economy. We can go ahead and disband these Boyai swordsmen because we don't need them anymore. We can start to focus on some of our core roster units, and as you can see, our economy is even increased further, so that's great news. We eventually want to consolidate Swabia, but for now let's just end the turn. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Gotten some extra denarii from completing some missions. Of course, the character has increased, and so let's give him some abilities. We can even perhaps rank him up, which is great for the loyalty especially. So, okay, things are looking quite good. We can give him the public order, the research rate, some more public order. And this army surely but certainly is being depleted, so we are going to try to assassinate this character. It's only 6%, so I don't think that's going to happen. Instead, what I am going to do is try my level best to just get some replenishment up and running. Move back towards Uburzis, spread out that replenishment, and over here what we are going to build is a temple, so that we can get access to the champions of Tivas. And apart from that, we want to focus on our politics. So let's look at our characters over here. We can improve the zeal of this character, send her on a vacation, and improve the authority. We can't really do that, so we're gonna have to wait a little bit in order to do that. However, that's not a big deal for now. Things are looking good, and our economy will get even stronger because of course we are upgrading our amber building, and the amber building is a really strong building. As you can see, 1600 wealth from the final level. So in the very next level after our research, to unlock of course the Hari Night Strikers, we will be making 800 wealth from that building, which is absolutely insane. Lastly, we gonna have to see what is up with the Kimbroz. I'm not entirely sure if I should subjugate them or if I should just plain out attack them. For now, I'm just going to push deeper into their territory, get a line of sight of what's going on, and they are pushing back. So hopefully I will be able to attack them in the turns to come. This was a slight mistake, because this army could potentially move towards Tulifordum. However, we are going to attempt to sabotage him once again. Once again, he's been sabotaged, so not much he can do. We can even get another Governor General. Now this guy is not really great as a Governor General, so let's take a look at some of the other characters that we can hire as a Governor General. We have +5 wealth from all commerce, that's great, and he's a Tengteri chieftain. So let's go ahead and hire him, and we are going to deploy him as well. So that's Hildebrand. We're going to raise a fleet, and we are going to dock him into Rhugoz. Excellent. With that, we can go ahead, end the turn, and I will see you all in the next turn. Alright, welcome to the end turn. The Kimbroz have decided to attack me. I'm gonna fight this battle. Hopefully I will decisively crush these guys, and if I do so, then I will be able to push deeper and take out Flevum, thereby securing control of Magna Germania. Alright, welcome to our first engagement against the Kimbroz, and of course over here I am learning my micromanagement even better. The more I play a faction, the more I understand how to micromanage it better, and you can see over here I form a much more cohesive front line. In fact, I even elaborate on my oblique order. As you can see over here, the oblique order is looking really nice, allowing me to deal with multiple enemies. But very quickly I realized that I don't need an oblique order on my left flank, so I instead go for a more aggressive posture, charge into these units from multiple sides, try to quickly break it. As you can see, they're taking a lot of damage, they're already losing decisively. So that is exactly what you need to do in battle, guys. You need to read the situation. Not every battle is going to pan out the same. The AI does act and behave in a very different way in most of the battles, so you're going to have to see how to best respond based on the situation as it develops. Of course, over here on the left flank, we are trying to push our advantage, try to completely encircle the enemy. You can already see that we are mounting the pressure on the enemy right flank. However, most of the enemy troops are on the enemy right flank, and it's this spear unit that is under significant threat and is already beginning to lose. Meanwhile, on the right flank, we are maneuvering our mercenary bear warriors around the enemy, and let's go ahead and hide the foliage over there. Once we manage to complete our maneuver, we are going to change our formation width and charge right into the backs of those enemies, trying to break them off as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, a look on the left flank. Things are looking good. We are managing to slowly encircle the enemy. There we have it. The charge is in place. Let's have a quick look and see at the charge. They're completely crashing, shields crashing, enemies crashing. Fight is going to be extremely brutal over here, and these guys are completely going to break because of that charge and the scare ability hand in hand. Meanwhile, the real focus of this battle is going to be, of course, on that left flank. Even though we were able to posture very aggressively, a huge bulk of the enemy army is on the left flank, and as you can see, our frontline unit is already taking a lot of losses. In anticipation of that, I have actually moved my Sweboz youth to kind of support with their missile fire into the flanks of the enemies, which is going to be the unshielded side of the enemy. However, of course, they have expended their ammunition, and I will soon charge them into the fray. However, meanwhile, on the right flank, we are slowly but surely trying to maneuver around the enemy. We're performing yet another bunch of cycle charges over here, completely overwhelming the enemy right flank. And ironically, even though we postured very aggressively on the left flank, it is the right flank that will break before the left flank once again in our third battle, of course. Meanwhile, since our archers don't have much to do, we are focusing all of their fire on the enemy general, even though it's on his shielded side, because we really want to deplete this unit as quickly as possible, get him out of the battle, inflict a lot of the morale penalties as possible. And there you have it. We are also charging towards the general. We're managing to get a very decent charge over here. The general's already taken about close to 25% of casualties, and as you can see, every successive volley of fire is going to inflict even more casualties on this general unit. They are going to get absolutely decimated here, as they are surrounded by 2 units of mercenary bear warriors, and of course they are also being pelted by archers on all sides. However, as you can see on the right flank, the entire enemy army is shattered. We have reinforcements, of course, from the Kimbroz trying to come in. I realized that, and I quickly tried to realign and face them so that I do not get that formation breached or charged in the rear penalty. And for now, the only thing we're trying to do is keep the reinforcements at bay. They're just 4 units with a single archer unit. What we are really focusing on is trying to break the initial army of the Kimbroz. And of course, as you can see, the Germanic leader of the Kimbroz is wavering, which means very soon we will be able to inflict a significant morale penalty on the Kimbroz army. Once again, you can see over here, we are trying to maneuver our troops. We're using that narrow formation, and just look how cleanly they move past the enemy. Meanwhile, on the right flank, all of our freed up units are doing pretty much the same thing, trying to encircle the enemy on that right flank, as you can see. And things are looking really great for us. As you can see, we're completely almost encircling the enemy. If we take a top view over here, there you have it. And of course, we are going to reposition our troops. As you can see, we have the maximum charge frontage, and with that we are going to charge into the enemy simultaneously. And at first it might seem like your charge is a little bit buggy, but then it will automatically readjust and it will center your charge. And with that charge, we've managed to shatter the last vestiges of the Kimbroz army, and we didn't even have to deal with the archer unit. So with that, we have won a decisive and in fact a heroic victory. Of course, our first heroic victory of the series, and none better than against the Kimbroz, one of my favorite Germanic factions, as they are very different playstyle to the Sweboz. The thing I like about the Germanic factions is that each faction is quite unique in their playstyle, and they're not all the same, as opposed to, let's say, the Diadochi, or even the Hellenic factions, which are more or less a hammer and anvil strategy. When it comes to the Germanic factions, of course, the Suebi rely a lot on combined arms. Meanwhile, the Kimbroz is all about that ambush melee. And of course, the Rhugoz, as explained earlier, is all about, just swarming the enemy with your superior numbers of Levy troops. However, with that, we're going to go ahead and end the battle. And in the next turn, we will have a significant momentum and we will be able to conquer the settlement of Flevum. And there we go, our very first heroic victory, a very, very good victory. We lost about 700 men, but we managed to wipe out almost the entire army of the Kimbroz, and we are going to go ahead and just ransom off all the captives. And in the next turn, we're going to push towards Flevum and wipe out the Kimbri. Alright, welcome to the next turn. Character has leveled up, so let's go ahead and give him some abilities. Focusing on that replenishment rate as well as melee attack. We're going to move our army to intercept over here because this guy is clearly making a move for Tulifurdum. What we are going to attempt is to keep sabotaging him so that he cannot move all that far. Unfortunately, our attempt has failed, but he's still, being winter, he cannot really move all that far. So he is really going to be in a very bad spot. Meanwhile, over here, all the way towards Flevum, we're going to push a little bit closer, get a line of sight, night attack, just basically wipe out. Yep, and going to take that. And now this guy has retreated. We are just going to attack Flevum itself. Pretty decent auto-resolve. I'm going to take it, of course, because I don't really need... We haven't lost any men. And we are just going to peacefully occupy it, or... Let us see. You know what? Yeah, let's just peacefully occupy it because I thought I could make a confederation out of it. It did wipe out the Kimbroz as a faction, so that's great. Meanwhile, our general has leveled up also, so we are going to take the Dread Commander to improve our, morale against all of the enemy units. So let's just get that Dread Commander up and running. Meanwhile, take a quick look at Flevum itself. Pretty good settlement. Don't really need to dismantle a lot, just need to get rid of this military building over here. And with that, we have consolidated our rule over Magna Germania. We are looking really powerful, guys, and we have access to Gaul. We, of course, have the last remaining region of Lugia to consolidate, after which we will be the undisputed power in Germania. And things are looking quite good as far as that is concerned. The campaign is going really quite successfully. I did not expect to expand this quickly in the campaign, but of course now pushing or focusing our attention eastward is going to take quite a bit of time because I'm going to have to march all of my armies across to the east. However, for now we're going to take a quick look and see if we can establish any agreements with the factions over here, and we really can't. So what we are going to do is we're going to try to move our spy to get a line of sight to basically be able to see what's going on in those regions. Meanwhile, we can just ask to join the war against the Parisi. This might improve our relationship with, of course, the Iceni. We don't want them to attack us. We can even perhaps get a defensive alliance. Meanwhile, the Helveti pretty happy with us. So let's just go ahead, get trade agreement with them. And okay, that should pretty much secure our southern frontier. Meanwhile, can we actually get a non-aggression with these guys, which is what we desperately need? The Apuli, the Scordisi, will you get a trade agreement with me? Perfect. You're pretty significant power down there in the south, so I don't really want to mess with you. Of course, you're at war with the Getae and of course the Apuli. But yeah, you've expanded quite a bit. You've even got some territory in Dacia itself. So, yep, as far as my boundaries are concerned, things are looking quite good. Of course, we have a fairly good relationships with Lugia as well as the Injuones. So the eastern front is looking quite secure. We managed to secure our south through agreements with Scordisi, the Nori, as well as the Helveti. Our western frontier is looking a little bit shaky with the Nervii, and of course, the Sequani. Not so happy with our expansion, but we are going to try to expand into those territories. And I'm not entirely sure if I should subjugate the Nervii so that I can get access to the Rame Maripos, which are amazing cavalry unit. As I mentioned, the Sweboz don't really have good cavalry units, so that's something we definitely need. But in case we can't get that, then I'm not too concerned, because of course I am going to try to play to this faction's strengths and weaknesses, and just getting a Remy Maripos as a Germanic faction, or any other faction for that matter of fact, seems a little bit cheesy. So you know what, I'm just going to leave it up for a vote, or actually, you know what, I'm not going to leave it up for a vote, sorry guys, because in our Seleucid campaign, that's pretty much what I did, and most of you wanted to see me leveling up some pretty powerful units, especially from the Morians, elephants and so forth. But as the Seleucids, it's not very far-fetched to have satrapies, but as a barbarian, I could technically even vassalize Rome and get access to legionaries, which would totally break the immersion, in my opinion, of the game. However, enough of rambling on that regard. We can improve or send one of our children for tutoring. Meanwhile, a quick look at the characters over here. Can improve the authority as well, so let's go ahead and do that. And we can also improve her zeal, and we are going to send her on a leisure time to improve her cunning as well. This character should almost be leveled up as well, which is great news. Things are looking quite fantastic. Meanwhile, we can promote this character. That should improve his loyalty a fair bit. As far as politics is concerned, we have a significant amount of influence. We're beloved, and things are going really so well for us in the campaign. Of course, the last remaining threat over here is Rhugoz, but they are not that much of a threat. We can easily dispatch them. I'm not going to be focusing on getting, I know I have been checking if I can get the Germanic mercenary bear warriors. However, I'm not going to be focusing on getting them, because as soon as I build up a temple of Tivas, I can get access to the champions of Tivas. So that is pretty much what I am going to do as soon as the temple in Tuliforudum builds up. However, with that, I think it's time to call an end to the episode. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you liked the video, then like the video, and don't forget to subscribe if you are interested for more. Keep in mind, guys, your subscriptions, if I hit 5k subs, then I will be releasing side by side a campaign of Alexander in Divided Impera.